All right, good. Okay, Ian. So tell me a little bit about what this workshop is going to be. Like some people might have taken other workshops with you, or taken watercolor rules, or taken paint the town gray. But tell us about watercolor your home. What is the idea behind this workshop, and what can we hope to accomplish with it?
Okay, that's a great question, Danny. This particular workshop is kind of, well, I think for me there's two strands to it. There's the kind of technical strand whereby I show people through my steps, through my process, how to draw the front elevation of a house, which people can people can take on board, and they can adapt to possibly drawing their own house, or just drawing my house, or drawing somebody else's house. So there's the technical side where I break it down into the kind of initial sketch, and then we go with the medium shapes, then we put the color on, then we put the tone on, then we put the detail on. So you'll see my working process, the kind of the layers of looking. So that's one side, that's the technical side. But then there's another, I think, a much more personal side to it, where you're kind of exploring your memories, because your subject matter is so special. It's so important to you, because this is the house I lived in many, many years ago. And through the process of drawing it and observing it and recording it, you're kind of revisiting those memories. And I'm thinking about what it was like for me when I lived there. You know, we had two small children. I was working full time as a teacher. We had no money. We were skint, but we were so happy. And it's all that narrative, that personal history, is all wrapped up in the rectangle. And within that rectangle, you've got all those different features. And one of the features could be a window. So you look through that window, and the window's in the roof. And that used to be my studio. That was my first studio when I first moved up from London. So as you looked out of that window, you could see Hoylake Beach, which was just amazing. And then there was like the children's bedrooms on the first floor. Then there was our living room downstairs. And then there was the little porch that pops out. And there's a little bin outside. So all those things are just enabling you to revisit your memories of the place, which just makes it a really special drawing experience. And that's kind of what urban sketching is about. You know, the two go hand in hand, the technical side of trying to be a better artist or better sketcher, or, you know, better at observing the world. But then you've also got the personal side where you're investing it with your own experience and your own memories.
So you're telling
So
us,
that's very much.
you're telling a story is a lot of the way that you talk about it too. The idea that you're telling a story through through emotions, through your color choices, through the amount of details that
Yeah,
you're putting in. All those things are going into it. I think another,
yeah,
just going back to the technical part of it, unlike Paint the Town Gray, which was really about tones and markers, really markers and pens. This is
yeah,
about watercolor as well, and it's about
yeah,
you're painting on location in this workshop. But of course, we who are going to be in watching it live are going to be at home, but we're going to get to work from the photo of your house if we want
mm,
to, or we can just use those same techniques to do a painting of our own home, or a house we lived in, or a present for somebody. Tell us a bit about, from the watercolor and the various media that you're using. Tell us a bit about
yeah.
what goes on in that part of the
Okay.
workshop.
So what we do to begin with, Danny, is we start off very lightly sketching it out using a Tombow brush pen, and it's a kind of mid grey, and that behaves very similar to a, say, a soft leaded pencil, a HB or a 2B pencil. So we sketch it out, and that gives us the foundation on the page. That kind of works out what goes in and what's not going to go out. So you're kind of working out the parameters of your sketch. And then from those initial shapes, we then go in a little bit deeper with the observation using a fine liner, a permanent fine liner pen, just to make things a little bit more referenced in terms of the objective. So there's more detail, there's more stuff there. And those two steps are really laying the foundations for the color. So then the color goes on, that's the third stage. And that's really when you are saying something about your experience of being there. So it could be something quite literal, like it's really cold, so I'm going to use a little bit more blue. Or it's really warm and sunny, I'm feeling energized, let's throw some orange on. So it could be something quite emotionally arbitrary like that. But then you've also got the color, which is the local color, the reference color, the color you can really, really see. So it's a combination of those two. Plus, it's how those colours play on the page. And I explain all of this through the process. So as the students can see me working kind of in real time, I'm telling them the stories of this and how it's working for me and how it's behaving. And then after that, we use the brush pens again on top of the paint to kind of calm it all down and develop some tone work. And then finally, the last couple of steps are all about putting the detail in, which, as you alluded to before, is the real storytelling part as well, when we're really animating it with all the little references that we see, like the slate on the roof and the brickwork and the wires dropping down and the little bin outside and the thickness of the curb on the pavement. So all those little things that we see that really tell the story of that particular house, they come in towards the end of the sketch.
Now, let's say this is all a little new to me. I haven't really, obviously I want to be able to draw my house relatively accurately. And then maybe I'm not that comfortable with watercolors. Maybe I'm new to that, or maybe I'm new to the whole idea of like layering all these different media on top of each other.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how, do I need to be super advanced to do this, or are
No,
you going to sort
no,
of help us through it? Yeah, tell me about that.
no, not at all. I mean, I'd like to think that my workshops can be accessed by anybody at all, whether you're a beginner, because on my live events, when I used to do live events before before this year started, I mean, I had complete beginners. I've had people from San Francisco that have been on my workshops and they've never picked up a pen since they were at school, but I've shown them what to do. I've taken them through it step by step by step. But then at the same time, in the same group, I've had people who are super, super confident, who've been painting, longer than me. Because the way I structure it, or the way I like to think I structure it, is people can access it at their own level. But I think what's particularly good about this one is that the initial composition is a front elevation. So there's no tricky perspective. There's no multiple angles. There's only really one object in front of you, which is the front facade of a building. And all we're doing is we're going in initially with a simple rectangle on the page. And then from that rectangle, we're breaking it up into smaller shapes. And then from those smaller shapes, we're layering it with color, and then we're layering it with more color. And then from that, we're putting tone on. And then from that, we're breaking it down even further into smaller compartments where we're noticing the detail. So for somebody who perhaps is at a kind of entry level for urban sketching, it's perfect for them. But somebody who's much more advanced, well, they can access it at their level as well, because they'll just push themselves. They'll just find their own level, and they'll push it even further. So hopefully the process that I use in my workshops, whether it's a real one or whether it's an online one with Sketchbook School, people can access it at their own level. And I do explain things hopefully quite clearly, because I never stop talking.
No, you're an amazing teacher, and I mean, people have learned so much from your workshops with us in the past, and I think you're teaching real building blocks. It's quite literally like you're building a building out of blocks, but also, as you say, your particular technique is just the final results are so amazing, and so enticing. I think there's so much kind of romance and, I don't know, picture quality to what. Yeah, so I think, as you say, at any level. And also, I think another thing that's great fun about this workshop is we're going to be working along with you live at the same time. So, and you'll be there to answer questions. You'll be there to respond to us. And for those people who take the feedback session, you're going to be able to look at the actual drawings that they did during the workshop and comment on them, answer questions, and so forth. So it's an incredible immersive experience. But also just like lots of fun, because you tell a lot of good jokes during it and tell stories and stuff like that. All kinds of things are going to be happening as you're sitting out in the street. So that's going to be a really fun part of this experience as well.
I think Danny, that's the magic part of it as well. And hopefully the students will see this in the film, that when I'm working on location, even though it was we were in lockdown, there are so many people out and about on the streets. because we're right on the seafront, so we're right near the promenade in Hoylake, and there's people walking past with their dogs, and they stop and they ask you what you're doing, and then the lady who lives in the house next door, she comes over with a cup of tea for me
That's
and
I love
Cam, the
that
camera
part.
guy, and that's what is magical about drawing outside. You are engaging with the public all the time, and when you do draw outside on location, it is a big, pardon the pun, it's a big draw for people. People are fascinated by what you're doing, because people see art, people see drawings, they see stuff on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, but they don't actually see, they very rarely see somebody doing it. And I think a lot of us as urban sketchers, as creative people, we take that for granted. I've been drawing all my life, but when people come along and say, "Oh wow, you're drawing that," that's amazing. And all you've done is drawn a rectangle. You've been even doing it for like 10 seconds, but they're so impressed by what you're
And I
doing,
think
and that
people,
applies
yeah,
to everyone.
people are so often afraid to draw in public. So I think you're going to help them to get over that by showing you how to interact with people and make it not scary. Listen, this has been great chatting with you. I don't want to take up any more of your time because I know that you are involved with a million different things right now. Despite the lockdown, you're very busy. But we're really excited about this. We're so excited to be doing a workshop with you again. And I feel like this, at this time of year, particularly during the lockdown, to be able to think about your home, to be able to talk about these basic skills that we'll all be able to use when we can go out and do urban sketching. But even now, we can sit down and do a painting of our home, and
Yeah,
it will be meaningful, and we'll gain so much out of it. It's going to be
yeah,
a really nice
absolutely.
kind of thing to do. Yeah,
Yeah. Can I just say one more little thing
of
towards the
course.
end, Danny?
Yeah, please do.
Because what I think I might have mentioned it previously, but just to kind of reiterate, one of the things that really grabbed me when I was doing this workshop was how it enables you to connect with your past. And I think that's
Exactly.
really, really important. I mean, some of the best art that I've done is when I've drawn things that mean something. So a place that I'm familiar with, whether it's in Hoylake or Liverpool, or a place that I go to quite regularly, because it means something to you. You have a connection with it. You're not just drawing the objective, you're drawing the subjective, and the
Right.
subjective is based upon your experience
You're
and your knowledge and
expressing
your
you're expressing
understanding.
yourself really in the deepest possible way. Yeah, that's so
And
nice.
hopefully, with this workshop, one of the points I try to make to people is that you can almost do it twice. You can do what I do, but then take away from that and then apply it to your own story.
Right.
And I think that would be a great thing for people, to kind of do it that way. Because not everyone lives in a house similar to mine. Some people might live in huge big houses, and this is a very, very straightforward, regular kind of house. It was the first house we could afford when we moved up from London, but that doesn't matter.
No, and even
It's
if you
it's,
live in
it's
a
what
big apartment building, I mean, I've done drawings
within
of
that.
my house in New York. My apartment in New York is a big, not very nice looking apartment building, but it's still stories about our lives, and that's what matters. So
And that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Yeah,
that's right.
great.
Thank you so much, Ian. It's so nice to talk to you again, and
You're welcome.
we'll see you very soon in the workshop.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Take care.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone. Bye-bye. Bye.
Fantastic.